Okay, we're going to use these notes, these steps to complete the square. And I'm going to follow along with you here. First thing you need to do is make sure that it looks like this. So it's going to be x squared plus bx equals c. That means this needs to be moved over to the other side. So when we move it over, we're going to change the sign. If it's a positive, it's going to become a negative 7 and cross it out because it goes away. Okay, step 2 says take half of b and square it. Then add it to both sides. So this is how I'm going to do it. Pay attention, write x squared plus 8x plus something. I'm just going to draw a box equals, this is negative 7, so just bring it down, negative 7 plus something. Okay, that's where it says add it to both sides. I'm going to add something to both sides. So I'm putting it in there right now because I know that's where I'm going to put my numbers. But before that, it said take half of b. So this is my b. Write it over here on the side. 8. Half of 8 is how much? 4. So I take half of that b, and it gave me 4. And then it says square it. So I'm going to square that. What's 4 squared? You should have your multiplication chart. 4 squared is 16, because 4 times 4 is 16. All right, so 4 squared is 16. So that's what I'm going to add to both sides. That 16 is going to go here and here. Okay, that was step 2. You take half of b, square it, and then add it to both sides. That's where my boxes are, and that's why I'm adding it to both sides. All right. Then step 3, factor the perfect square trinomial. Well, remember this number inside? If I factor this out, this is a perfect square, and it comes out as x plus 4 squared. That number, whatever that number is inside the parentheses, is going to go right here. Why? Because 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 plus 4 is 8. It's a perfect square. It comes out perfectly. Okay? And then these two, you just add them. What's negative 7 plus 16? 9. So equals to 9. All right, once you have that perfect square, step 4 says take the square root of both sides and solve for both cases. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root of a square, that goes away. So that just goes away, and you end up with x plus 4 equals. What's the square root of 9? 3. But because I'm taking a square root, it's going to be a positive 3 and a negative 3. So I'm going to have two different answers. One is positive 3, and then another one is going to be x plus 4 equals negative 3. You're going to end up with two answers. Okay? Always. So once you finish this part right here, just remember you have two answers. All right? Then we solve just like it told us to do. So draw the line, solve for x, subtract 4 from both sides. Here too, subtract 4 from both sides so that the 4 goes away. And that's going to give you your answer. X equals, what's 3 minus 4? No. Put it in Desmos. 3 minus 4? Negative 1. Okay, and what's negative 3 minus 4? Put it in Desmos. Negative 3 minus 4. Negative 7 is my second answer. Okay, this can also be done in Desmos. If you were to type this equation in Desmos, x squared plus 8x plus 7, you'll see that the solutions are negative 1 and negative 7. Okay, let's practice some more. Let's do problem number 1. Step number 1, this needs to be on the other side. So that's negative 27. Okay, step number 2, I'm going to take half of b, half of this, and square it. And then add it to both sides. So when I put it, when you rewrite it, you're going to say x squared minus 12x plus something equals, this was negative 27, plus something. Okay, so remember I told you I'm going to tell you when we're going to use the bottom of your sheet to take half of negative 12. Put it at the bottom of the sheet because if not, it's not going to fit. So half of negative 12 is how much? Negative 6. So in parentheses, I'm going to put negative 6, and then I'm going to square it. So in Desmos, I want you to type negative 6 squared. Here goes my Desmos, parentheses, negative 6, close parentheses, square, it's 36. So equals positive 36. So right here, I'm going to put 36 on both sides. Step 3, I'm going to take this and I'm going to factor the perfect square out so I know it's going to look something like this. And then when you add this to negative 27 plus 36 in Desmos, that gets you 9. So remember this number in the middle? That's your perfect square. So that's going to be right here, x minus 6. Okay? And then the last step, take the square root of both sides and solve. So when you take the square root of it, the square goes away. So I have x minus 6 equals, what's the square root of 9 again? Positive 3 or negative 3. So x minus 6 equals negative 3. This is when you get two answers, two solutions. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides to get rid of that negative 6. And those are going to be your answers. So what's 3 plus 6? 9 is my first answer, one of my solutions. And what's negative 3 plus 6? Put it in Desmos. No, it's not negative 9. Positive 3 is your other solution. Okay? I want you to pause the video and do number 2. Move this over, change the sign to a plus 5, and continue and see where you get stuck. Pause the video right now. Okay, you should have paused the video. I have x squared plus 4x plus something equals 5 plus something. Okay, so down at the bottom, we're going to half b, that's my b, so 4 divided by 2 is how much? 2, so that goes in parentheses, and square it. What's 2 squared? 4. So up here, what goes in the box is 4. And then you factor that one. It's a perfect square, and you add those two, that's 9. So what goes inside here? What are my factors? Whatever this number is, that goes inside. So it's going to be x plus 2. Because x plus 2 times x plus 2 gives you this whole thing, x squared plus 4x plus 4. Take the square root of both sides, and you're going to end up with two answers. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So this is x plus 2 equals a positive 3. The square root of 9 is 3. and x plus 2 equals a negative 3. And then you were supposed to solve. Subtract 2 from both sides. Cancel the 2's. And that'll give you your 2 answers. So 3 minus 2 is how much? 3 take away 2 is 1. And what's negative 3 minus 2 in Desmos? It's a negative 5. That's your second answer. Okay? The bottom two, the way you're going to start this one is move the 50 over so it becomes a plus 50. And the way you're going to do this one is this B needs to be over here. So you're going to have to move the B over to the left side. And then you're going to have to move this 71 over here as a negative 71. So you're going to end up with, pay attention, x squared. This becomes a minus 18x equals, and then what's negative 9 minus 71? Negative 9 minus 71. Negative 80? Okay. So this is negative 80. Over here you have x squared plus 2x equals, what's negative 2 plus 50? Positive 48. Okay, press pause and finish out those 2 problems with the steps that I just showed you. Okay, you should have at least tried it out by yourself. I'm going to take half of this. So negative 18 divided by 2 is how much? Negative 9. So that goes inside the parentheses and then we square it. So what's negative 9 squared? Positive 81. So that 81 goes in my 2 boxes. So it's going to be x squared minus 18x plus something equals negative 80 plus something. And in that something, we're going to put our 81. Okay? And I know that this, when I factor it out, it's going to give me whatever this middle number is, which is negative 9. So it's going to be x minus 9 squared. Okay, equals, and then negative 80 plus 81 is how much? 80 plus 81. Negative 80 plus 81 is a positive 1. It's a positive 1. So then we're going to take the square root of both sides, and that's going to give me 2 answers, a positive answer and a negative answer. So I have x minus 9 equals, what's the square root of 1? 1. And x minus 9 equals a negative 1. And you're going to solve both of those by adding 9 to both sides so that the negative 9 cancels. So that leaves you with x equals 1 plus 9 is 10, and x equals negative 1 plus 9 is a positive 8. Same thing over here. I'm going to put plus something and plus something. Do 2 divided by 2 gives you 1. Square that gives you 1. So in here I'm going to put a 1 and a 1. My factors are x plus 1 squared, and then 48 plus 1 is 49. Finish it out.